Welcome, friends, old and new. This is Deborah Lupien, voice of the Akashic Records, bringing you an extraordinary afterlife conversation with a true metaphysical pioneer, Dolores Cannon. Get ready for a compelling journey into the mind of the woman who unlocked the mysteries of past lives and the future of humanity. After our conversation, stick around to hear the story of how we connected, which was way different than anything I've experienced before because, well, it's Dolores Cannon. And don't miss the special image of Dolores as a young woman before she became the godmother of reincarnation. My, what a strange feeling to be in a body again. Thank you for reaching out to me. I suppose you have questions about my work, about my books? Let me tell you, it was a wild ride. I stumbled into the work that became my life's passion. I was just trying to find a way to earn money to support the family, doing hypnosis, helping people lose weight, and quit smoking. Little did I know I had pre-planned more for my life as Dolores. As you would say, my angels led me into discovering this new way of connecting and getting information from the records without consciously understanding that's what I was doing at the time. It was only later I understood the true depth and breadth of my work. In the beginning, it was quite worrisome as I feared I might have contacted demonic forces. But over time, as I connected the pieces of information from client sessions, a different picture emerged. A picture of a life journey. Inquiry, learning, expanding, and sharing my findings with the world. It was at times exciting and at other times daunting, but I dearly loved it. I wouldn't trade that life for anything. Sure, it took me some time to work out the process, to refine it. But if you do anything long enough, you get darn good at it. And I must say, I was darn good at QHHT. I had to form my own publishing company because nobody wanted to publish my work. It was unheard of. I was a real trailblazer. Sometimes it still amazes me that I was able to accomplish all that I did, given the circumstances. But I was divinely guided, and that made all the difference. Did your work keep you up at night in the beginning when you were unsure what you'd gotten yourself into? Oh, certainly there were many sleepless nights where I walked the floor, trying to make sense of the direction my life had taken, fretting over whether God was happy about what I was doing, whether I was risking my eternal soul. But when you're on your purposeful path, you feel the energy and alignment. Over time, I tuned into that feeling and let go of my misgivings, fears, and doubts. I melted into my work, lived it, breathed it, ate it, drank it, slept it. The work encompassed my whole being. I loved teaching others because this shouldn't be a secret, you know. These timeless truths and wisdom were meant to be known, used to create a more empowered, enjoyable reality, to solve the problems of the world even. The work is huge. I was only able to share a small portion during my lifetime. It's vast, unlimited, constantly expanding, drawing more people in, wooing them, you might say. Is that where woo-woo comes from? The energy's wooing us in? A big smile spread across Dolores's face as she said with a wink, "Bingo! You got it." That's pretty cool. Thank you, Dolores. Did you struggle to find balance in your life? How did you manage not to give yourself entirely over to work, given your passion for it? I had my family to consider. Boundaries were necessary to balance all my responsibilities. There were times when I was on a deadline or traveling a little too much that I felt overwhelmed, but that was not my normal. Did you meditate? I would say the answer to your question is yes, but my meditation was in the form of prayer rather than what you would call meditating. Did you ever channel information for your teaching or books from your prayers? Or did all of your material originate through your hypnotherapy work? There might have been a little of me connecting and bringing information through, but by and large, it came from my clients. That was the way I learned to access the Akashic records. It felt easy and it worked. So I suppose it didn't occur to me to go exploring on my own. Did I get that right, Dolores? You didn't meditate? You didn't have conversations with your angels? It was only through your clients? Yes, that's essentially true. Anything else that happened along those lines would have been organic rather than a conscious choice on my part. When I was in control with my client under hypnosis, I trusted where the information came from. But if it were me meditating, then I couldn't be sure, and that made me uncomfortable. When you find something that works, you do it. And this worked. Didn't you ever wonder about your own past lives? You know, I suppose I was too busy puzzling out the experiences of my clients to give a thought to my own. It's like that when you're doing work that feeds your soul. You're completely filled up, not seeking more. Satiated, you might say. When you were doing these sessions with your clients, did you 100% believe what you were getting from them? I don't think I'd go as far as 100%, but a significant percent. Like anyone, I occasionally had my doubts, especially when the more outlandish situations showed up. And you know, there's more than a few of those. Well, Dolores, as you probably know, there's a lot of talk right now and a lot of psychic predictions that in the month of March 2025, we're going to experience the Earth splitting, as you talked about. Maybe something different, but similar that others have talked about. From your present perspective, can you tell whether that's true? Are we going to experience a massive uplevel of lightworkers leaving the unawakened or the dark forces behind? At this point, I'm feeling a little embarrassment energy from her, like maybe she got it wrong. Yes, I've become aware since crossing over that although my subjects were hypnotized, their own personal biases sometimes bled through into what I received from them, meaning the information was not 100% pure. It was tainted, you might say, in some cases, slanting what we thought of as the truth. I was sad to find out it wasn't a perfect process, as I had long thought. But I suppose in retrospect it makes sense. It's only natural personal biases could come through because hypnosis doesn't remove one's free will. So, yes, I'd say I did get things wrong occasionally. The problem is, as you've discovered, there aren't really any checks and balances from your side of the equation. How does one validate these things? In some cases, it might be possible to validate through actual historical facts, but that would not be true in most cases. The information simply isn't available. So you have to go out on a limb in faith and trust that what you're getting is accurate, that you're receiving it for a higher purpose. So you go with that, hoping for the best. That's all Creator can ask of any of us, our best. So I have no regrets in that respect. I did my best. And if my predictions weren't perfect, I accept that. The important thing is the intention and the love. Mountains were moved, metaphorically, helping people with deep-seated traumas. So how can one look back on those results with anything but satisfaction? They were incredibly healing and helpful, and they made excellent teaching stories to illustrate the points I was trying to make. Is there anything you'd like to share about, set the record straight about something that you got wrong? We would deeply appreciate that. I'd have to say, overall, the important points were correct. There's just some fine tuning here and there that was slightly off. But overall, I've received validation that it was factual. What about your stories of Jesus and the Essenes? Are they correct? Yes, I absolutely stand by those. I'm incredibly proud of that body of work. It was meaningful to me, and I was honored to do it. What about the waves of volunteers? Any clarifications you want to make about that? No, that is in fact what's happening. There might be slight variations here and there, but the overall gist of the story is accurate. I understand you were a devout Christian. Looking back with your new perspective, can you see areas where you might have gotten details wrong because of your religious beliefs overriding information that you received or coloring it in some way? Not in the way that you mean. The information I received was remarkably clear and succinct. There's nothing major I would change in my work. I'd stand by it. You might interpret it differently from your present perspective than was interpreted in my time. Maybe that's where you're coming to the conclusion that I was biased and got it wrong. Actually, sorry, Dolores, I'm not trying to insinuate that you got it wrong. I just had questions, and since we're talking, I wanted to clarify. Can you tell us, what about Atlantis and Lemuria? Is there anything you'd like to add or clarify about those stories? Well, I can tell you they were real places. They will one day return. That timeline has not yet been finalized, so I can't tell you when. And what about the prophecy of Earthtopia? Does that story align with what you understood from your work? Yes, it does. It's more defined than the information I had access to, but it is in alignment with the intention, the understanding, the truth of what I had access to. What would you say was your sole mission in your lifetime as Dolores? Were there things left undone when you exited? Oh my, there are always things left undone. Our plans for an incarnation are extensive and ambitious. That plan, set against events in the world that may be beyond our control, can cause things to shift, priorities to realign. So it would be unusual to accomplish everything from a plan. One does as much as they're able and is satisfied with that. So, what would you say your mission was as Dolores? My mission was planting seeds, opening people's eyes, being a catalyst for the awakening that you are experiencing now. There are some who were awakening in my time, but at a very different level. Surface level, you might say, not the depth with which souls are awakening in your present time. I'm proud of the work I did being the catalyst. It was soul-satisfying work, and I often meet souls on this side who thank me profusely for being an influence on their lives. It's good to leave your mark on the world. What about the world splitting into two Earths? Do you stand by that teaching? Technically, it was true. However, it won't be a literal split into two Earths as I had envisioned. So yes, you could say I got that wrong. Conceptually, that's truth. It's an important aspect of my work, just not to be taken literally. As we now understand, much of the Bible is not to be taken literally. So you could say I'm in good company. Is there anything you've learned about Lemuria, Atlantis, and other highly advanced civilizations that surprised you? Things surprise me all the time. I only scratch the surface of understanding about those civilizations. I thought of them as incredibly ancient, and I've since learned there are many advanced civilizations, far older, more ancient, as you would say, than those civilizations. Was there anything that surprised you after your transition? Well, I don't know that I'd call it surprising. It was a return to my normal state of being, something I've had eons of experience with. So I wouldn't say that was surprising. I suppose if anything surprised me, it would be how much I was able to accomplish, given the mores of the time and the lack of understanding in the greater world about metaphysical topics. There was a lot of work to be done overcoming old taboos and negative associations to allow my work to even be considered, let alone taken seriously. In transitioning back, the only surprises of note would be how much I was able to accomplish given the times. And that I was quite pleased with. I like to think that I walked in the footsteps of Madame Blavatsky and brought updated sensibilities to the table. That's darn satisfying. What can you tell us about the present and the near future? I can tell you that every generation thinks they're going through the most extraordinary times, if not Armageddon. They're very dramatic about that. And so far, they've been wrong. They haven't come close. But right now, it looks as if you are on target in your lifetime to have that breakthrough moment of raising your vibrational frequency high enough to connect with a new dimensional level. Anything else you can tell us about the present or the near future that would be helpful for us to know? No, I'm not allowed to give that information out. You will receive it in divine perfect timing and not before. So you might as well focus on living your best life now, because you never know When will be your last day on Earth? Believe me, my last day came sooner than I expected. While it was a relief to be shed of my old body, it was a shock at the same time. There's always the desire to do just one more thing before exiting. But once you're in the queue, there's no turning back. So, Dolores, here's an important question for the people whose loved ones are MAGA supporters, but they themselves are awakened. What will happen to their loved ones when they ascend? It is premature to answer that question. There is still ample time for many more souls to turn to the light. Your loved ones might be in the group who have their awakening, and therefore accompany you to Earthtopia. And what about the ones who don't awaken? They get left behind? What can you tell those family members? I would reassure you that your loved ones are never gone. They're eternal just as you. You can still connect with their souls through your Akashic records, whether they're embodied or not. They're always available to connect. In fact, I would encourage you to connect with them through the records so that you're connecting with the soul rather than the ego for a more satisfying, enlightening connection. So you see, in that way, you might find yourself seeing it as a blessing. Dolores, are you presently incarnated? Oh, heavens no. I'm far from being ready for a return trip. And you can bet your sweet Bippy I'm not ready to come back until after y'all work out these present troubles. I had enough of that during my lifetime. I want to come back on the other side, once you've crossed into Earthtopia, to experience that glorious lifetime. That's my desire. So you are unlikely to encounter me in the flesh in your lifetime. Are you planning to come back to Earth? Oh, yes. I have unfinished business with Earth. I'll be back. And do you know now what your focus would be in that new lifetime? It will probably be something spiritual, because that is what my soul is aligned with, teaching spiritual principles. But no, I couldn't tell you right now because I haven't made those choices. That's premature. Whatever it is, it will be in alignment with my soul, designed to help me climb the vibrational frequency scale to a higher dimensional level, because that's always where it's at as souls plan their next incarnation. So, Dolores, your idea about two Earths has been interpreted in many different ways by many different people. Can you explain it to us so that we understand and can put it in perspective for the present? We'd be really grateful. There will be a division. That much was clear to me. However, the way in which the division happens was beyond my comprehension at the time. I was not aware that vibrational beings could occupy distinctly different planes of existence on the same planet. But now I understand that is possible, that souls could occupy different planes of frequency, effectively creating the feeling of two separate planets, even though they're occupying the same physical space. Is there anything else you'd like to say in conclusion, a message you'd like to leave us with? Yes, I would like to repeat the words of Metatron, that your wise choice is to live every day to the fullest in gratitude and joy. Don't cheat yourself out of those precious moments by focusing always on what is to come. Tomorrow will arrive in due time, and then you will know. But if your focus is always on tomorrow, you'll miss so many opportunities in the present. You'll deprive yourself of glorious experiences with your loved ones and with those you might yet meet. You'd be effectively limiting yourself. And I can assure you, you did not come here to limit yourself. So think about it. Try letting go, focusing on today. See how that works out for you. You might be surprised what a difference it makes. Thank you, Dolores. I so appreciate that. And I appreciate the offer to speak again. Okay, so I wanted to tell you about what it was like when I met Dolores. I went into the Akashic Records to meet her there, and I went down the hallway of the library and opened door number 88. Isn't that interesting? Double infinity. Inside was a younger version of Dolores. She warmly greeted me and invited me to come in, and we sat to have tea together in these big overstuffed chairs. She was vivacious, sparkly, filled with life. She had a twinkle in her eye, and she really enjoys being free of that body. So I asked her if she would be willing to allow me to trance channel her, because I wanted to get a deeper connection, to really get the authentic Dolores. So she agreed, and astonishingly to me, she stood up on what looked like a diving board. She dove off down into my crown chakra and into my body. Oh my gosh, what a stunning sensation. I was feeling the tickly sensation of like bubbles in the water as she got in and got settled. And from there, the conversation took off. So it was a lovely, if unexpected, experience. And now I want to share with you the picture that I talked about at the beginning. I asked AI to create for me a younger version of Dolores. And this is what it came up with. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. So, friends, there you have it. My amazing conversation with Dolores Cannon. Thank you for watching. I am so grateful for your presence. I would love to hear what you think about what Dolores had to say. Please like, subscribe, and comment. I would deeply appreciate that because, as everyone tells you, it really does help the channel. And that helps us to get more of these messages out to the world. Till next time, this is Debbra Lupien, voice of the Akashic Records. Bye.